2,500 years ago, the Buddha already knew you would be worried and anxious. Because of this, there is a Buddhist sutra regarded as the king of Buddha's sutras, and that is the Shura Angama Sutra. We know that this sutra makes it much easier for people to attain enlightenment. Meanwhile, there is another text considered the most famous guidebook for Taoist immortality cultivation, The Secret of the Golden Flower. Have you ever thought about combining these two books? And if so, what special outcome might that produce? Today we're going to discuss Chapter 10 of The Secret of the Golden Flower, titled Original Light, Temporal Light. Why this particular chapter? Because there's something fascinating in it. This Taoist text directly quotes the Shura Angama Sutra of Buddhism to explain what true enlightenment is. Even more surprising is that although I've studied the Shura Angama Sutra through numerous videos before, I always felt vague and never truly grasped its core essence. People often say that the Shura Angama Sutra helps individuals awaken, but after so many years of reading it, I still saw no sign of any awakening in myself. Yet only in the last 2 days, when I happened to flip through Chapter 10 of The Secret of the Golden Flower, I suddenly realized the core teaching that the Shura Angama Sutra wants to convey, the key factor that genuinely enables people to awaken. I couldn't believe that Lu Dongbin, a Taoist patriarch, could clarify the philosophy of the Shura Angama Sutra so lucidly. Today's video will expose all the secrets of enlightenment. Without further ado, the combination of these two books leads to your recognizing one crucial thing: the state of clinging mind. In Buddhism, it's called clinging mind. In The Secret of the Golden Flower, it's referred to as the actual mind. In previous videos, I introduced you to a demon in our brain, something that steals our self-control, drains over 90% of our creative power, and makes us anxious and fearful whenever we have nothing to do. But today, we're going to talk about clinging mind, something far more frightening. It's like a tyrant that imprisons our souls, an invisible prison that locks our minds in the sufferings of life. It's the large hands of Mara, the Devil King, chaining us to endless cycles of ambition and desire. It's the root of all suffering. You've likely felt something like this. You know you have to get up early tomorrow, yet every night you can't resist browsing your phone until 2 or 3 a.m. You know that gambling only ever leads to losses, but why do you keep wanting to play? During the recent Lunar New Year, inheriting ancestral tradition, groups of young people often got together to gamble for money. In our group, there was someone who was very passionate about this game. He played continuously and kept losing, eventually bursting into tears right at the gambling table. Surprised, I asked him, "If it's like that, why don't you stop?" He just replied with one sentence, "We're human, there must be something to entertain ourselves." His answer rendered me speechless for 3 seconds. A person can cry over losses but still consider it a form of irreplaceable pleasure. That statement hit me like a bucket of cold water, making me realize how terrifying the clinging mind is. It is what unconsciously governs us, turning us into slaves to endless cravings. And it's precisely why we need to be fully aware of it. My friend's response perfectly illustrates the clinging mind. Simply put, it's our habitual tendency to keep attaching ourselves to external things, be it people, objects, or circumstances around us. Human nature is always looking for meaning in our existence. We need one or more spiritual anchors, and thus we place our hearts, emotions, and consciousness in external entities like love, family, career, or any form of entertainment, or anything that can provide us with safety and satisfaction. Without those things, would life still hold any meaning for us? Hence, this instinct to seek an anchor is almost like a pre-installed program in each person, a default mode that we don't even notice. However, sages such as Lao Tzu and the Buddha realized that most people have no idea that this exact clinging is the source of all suffering. When you place your entire mind on something external, You unwittingly bind yourself to the impermanence of the world. All of those external things will inevitably change, disappear, or betray your expectations. This is precisely the root cause of insecurity, suffering, and vexation in life. But why does attachment to external things cause so many problems? Lu Dongbin, a great master of the Taoist tradition, explained, "To understand this, we must return to the teachings of the Buddha in the Shura and Gama Sutra." The Buddha told a story to explain to Ananda why people suffer when they fix their minds on the external world. This story is found in the 5th section of the 10 manifestations, called Manifestation of Seeing Without Returning. This passage reveals the true nature of existence. In that story, the Buddha asked Ananda, "Ananda, look at this great lecture hall. In the morning, when the sun rises, this place is filled with light. This is a phenomenon called brightness. At night, when the sun is gone and the sky is covered by clouds, leaving only the faint moonlight, this is a second phenomenon called darkness. There's a window on the wall through which we can see outside. This is a third phenomenon called clarity. And when we face a solid wall that blocks our view, that's the fourth phenomenon called obstruction." Actually, in the original sutra, the Buddha mentioned 8 different phenomena, but to avoid confusing the audience, I'll summarize the first 4. However, all these phenomena follow the same principle. Then the Buddha continued, "Ananda, these phenomena each have their own origin. When light appears, it's because of the sun, so light must be returned to the sun. Darkness comes from the dim moonlight, so darkness must be returned to the moon. Clarity is due to the window, so clarity must be returned to the window. Obstruction is due to the wall, so obstruction must be returned to the wall." I had read this passage many times before, but never truly grasped the deeper meaning that the Buddha wanted to convey. Yet when combining it with the arguments about clinging mind and the secret of the golden flower, I suddenly realized an important truth. The real significance of this story lies in 2 main points. 1. The 4 phenomena, brightness, darkness, clarity, obstruction, are metaphors for all phenomena in this world. They represent the things people tend to attach themselves to, such as love, career, fame, wealth, or other pleasures. When your mind clings to something, be it a person, a job, or a pastime like gambling, this is akin to placing your mind on brightness, darkness, the window, or the wall in the Buddha's story. 2. The Buddha pointed out a critical fact. All these phenomena have their own origins, and eventually they all return to that origin. In other words, everything in life is impermanent and will vanish over time. Light fades when the sun sets. Darkness disappears when the sun rises. Clarity can be blocked. Obstruction can be overcome. Therefore, when people cling to something that is never fixed, sooner or later they will face loss. Cling to love, and you suffer when that love changes or breaks apart. Cling to your career, and you worry when it falters or is lost. Cling to pleasures, and you feel uneasy when you can no longer enjoy them. This is why clinging mind is the root of all suffering. The Buddha's story is like a map illustrating how suffering operates. We suffer not because this world is cruel, but because we unconsciously cling to things that do not actually belong to us. Our mind becomes stuck to things that will inevitably depart, and when they leave, we are torn and tormented. We are like people who use superglue to bond our souls to external objects without realizing those objects can never permanently be ours. When the objects we cling to disappear or change, it brings excruciating pain akin to peeling off the skin when the glue is dried on your hand. Losing a love can drive a person to despair. Losing a long-held job can make someone feel worthless. Losing in gambling can trigger feelings of bitterness, self-blame, and obsession. All of these experiences arise from a mind that clings to things that are never permanent. Hence, it's no surprise that even the most beautiful, the richest, or the most successful people in the world cannot avoid anxiety and distress. People often think that having money, fame, or status will make them happy. Yet even the wealthiest admit they only feel average happiness because they are constantly afraid of losing what they have. What's even more alarming is that financial institutions and businesses exploiting human psychology have recognized this and deliberately take advantage of our clinging mind to profit. They create addictive services from social media apps to entertainment platforms, video games, consumer credit products, all targeting our psychological need to cling. They make you believe you must have more, must own more, and through that you become a slave to your own clinging, living a life no longer truly under your control. The biggest issue is that most people do not even realize the existence of their clinging mind. If you don't realize that you're clinging, you cannot talk about controlling or letting it go. This is the key concept one needs to grasp. So, how do we control and let go of the clinging mind? The Buddha provided the ultimate solution to destroy clinging mind at its root. He said, if you want to completely eradicate the clinging mind, there is only one way: do not let your mind reach outward to attach to anything. But if we don't direct our mind outward, then where should we place it? The Buddha taught that we should settle our mind in the wonderful, luminous, true mind. Aside from the conscious mind we use daily for thinking, worrying, and calculating, we also have a pure, true mind, invisible and intangible, but extraordinarily real. Ordinary people simply do not perceive its existence. This true mind is where we really belong. If you anchor your mind there, the clinging mind will naturally quiet down and cease to dominate you. However, the biggest challenge now is, how do we recognize our own true mind? Because the Buddha said it's not something you can see with ordinary eyes, only enlightened individuals can sense it. If we don't know what it is, how can we dwell in it? We find the answer in The Secret of the Golden Flower. This Taoist manual is famous for its simple yet highly effective training methods. It's not abstract theory, but practical guidance that helps cultivators directly perceive and settle into the true mind. According to this text, there are two main methods to realize the wonderful, luminous, true mind. 1. Meditation. If you reach a high level of practice, you may see the original light, the radiant light of your true mind. However, this method requires a long period of committed, disciplined training which not everyone can manage. 2. Observation and recognition of clinging mind in daily life. This is a more practical approach, easier for everyone to apply. By doing this, you can gradually dissolve and possibly directly awaken from clinging mind. So how do we observe it? Lu Dongbin emphasized something crucial. Do not try to suppress or force it to disappear. Taoism has a saying, reversal is the movement of the Tao. In other words, the more you try to control it, the stronger it becomes. If you use force to subdue it, it will resist and become even more powerful than those who don't try at all. So how do you break it off? I once heard the elders mention the 3 resolves method, summarized as 3 steps: not pursuing, not opposing, not defining. Not pursuing means that when a thought arises, you don't chase after it. For example, when playing a game, if you win, you say, "One more round, let's keep winning." If you lose, you whisper, "I can't accept losing like this. I must win one more round to break even, then I'll go to sleep." Thus you get sucked into an endless cycle. But now you understand how the clinging mind works. When it appears, you can immediately recognize it. Ah, that's the clinging mind kicking in. And simply recognizing it allows you to start controlling it. Not opposing means not using brute force to suppress the clinging mind. The more you try to push it away, the stronger it gets. Like trying to push a ball underwater, it only pops back up with more force. The best approach is to observe it naturally without judgment or suppression. Not defining means you should avoid labeling or making judgments about what's happening. For instance, when you feel anxious, your clinging mind might tell you, "I'm so weak, I can't control this emotion." But it's precisely this labeling that strengthens the clinging mind. If you simply observe your anxiety without branding it as good or bad, it will naturally dissolve. Hence, the only way to control the clinging mind is through awareness of it, not chasing it, not fighting it, and not labeling it. If you practice this long enough, the clinging mind weakens and your mind becomes freer than ever. The most important thing is persistence. Nobody can completely rein in the clinging mind overnight, in a week or even a month. It requires constant observation, ongoing training, and gradual letting go. And when the clinging mind finally subsides, the wonderful, luminous, true mind reveals itself. It is a state of pure awareness, unshaken by the external world, untouched by suffering, anxiety, or fear. This is the ultimate solution the Buddha left for us. Once you notice the clinging mind arising, that alone is a critical turning point. Because as soon as you are aware that the clinging mind is at work, you are already different from the average person. Those who don't recognize it are unconsciously manipulated by it, but you are not. You see it, you know it's pulling you along, and that's the first step to escaping its grip. However, merely noticing it is just the beginning. The next step is even more important. Do not oppose it. This is the mistake many people make. When they realize the clinging mind is dragging them into an addiction, an anxiety, or endless desire, they often think they need to defeat it, to be strong and overcome it. But this only makes the clinging mind stronger. Recall the example of the person who lost so much at gambling that he cried yet kept playing. That shows how the clinging mind is not easily subdued. It's like a machine running on endless energy. Once activated, human willpower can hardly stop it. You've probably seen people walk out of motivational seminars or get-rich-quick courses with renewed determination, only for that resolve to vanish a few hours later. That is the power of the clinging mind. Therefore, facing it with sheer willpower is a major error. The more you try to force it, the stronger its resistance. So if we can't crush it with brute force, what do? Here we should recall a line from the Tao Te Ching: "The softest thing under heaven can overcome the hardest thing in the world." This reminds me of Bruce Lee's famous martial arts philosophy. Be shapeless, formless, like water. When you pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Water is soft but can pierce through rock. What's too rigid tends to break. What's flexible can last. When faced with a powerful force like the clinging mind, you cannot use rigidity to meet it head-on. You have to employ softness to transcend it. But how exactly do we use gentleness to overcome the clinging mind? This is precisely where the secret of the golden flower is most unique. The text offers a simple yet profoundly effective method: self-observation. There is a passage in the book that says, "In the future, whenever a thought arises, don't rush to chase after it. Ask yourself, where did this thought come from? From where did it appear? And how will it vanish?" Persistently observe it in that manner. If you trust me, remember these words. They may be the key to your liberation. I've even thought that if these words were shared in some secret expensive seminar, they'd be worth thousands of dollars because they contain the quintessential wisdom of both Buddhism and Taoism that I've discovered. Put simply, this is the method to cut off the clinging mind at its root. When a clinging thought arises, don't chase after it, don't immediately act on it or react to it. Instead, just watch it. For instance, when the clinging mind says, "Just one more round of gaming, then I'll sleep." Instead of giving into it, pause and ask yourself, where did this thought come from? How did it appear? Will I truly feel satisfied if I keep playing? What happens if I don't keep playing? You will discover a simple truth. The clinging mind is never satisfied. It always wants more. It has no end. If you indulge it once, it can carry you away forever. Furthermore, doing so never truly quells emptiness or boredom. Instead, it reinforces the habit of clinging. And as that habit grows stronger, it may lead to even more negative emotions like worry, frustration, or self-blame. You might think, why can't I control myself? Here I am, staying up late again. I won't be able to wake up tomorrow. Think back to times when you went out partying or drinking. Right after the party ended on the way home, did you feel a strange emptiness, as if the joy vanished instantly, leaving a sense of vague disappointment, like your spirit had been drained? If even a big party can't bring lasting fulfillment, then playing another round of a game surely won't fill the void within. Such a brief pleasure will never fill the internal sense of emptiness. It only pulls you deeper into the cycle of clinging. When you carry out this process of observation, gradually analyzing how your thoughts arise, how you respond to them, and the consequences that follow, you will eventually realize something very simple. Continuing to obey the clinging mind is absolutely pointless. You might say, why do I think playing another round will make me happy? It's the same as all the previous rounds. Besides, it'll affect my sleep and tomorrow's schedule. If I have this energy, I'd be better off using it tomorrow morning at work. That's exactly what the statement, look into where this thought arises and see how it will disappear, conveys. When you analyze and understand the nature of your thoughts, you can let them go gently, instead of trying to suppress or force them away. However, don't be too eager. While this method is powerful, it doesn't bring instant success. You won't master your mind immediately after a single attempt. Don't be naive, because the clinging mind has been rooted in your consciousness for a very long time, and changing it requires consistent practice. The good news is that if you succeed even once, you'll notice a remarkable difference. Try it when you get the chance. If you genuinely stop a negative thought, a clinging desire, simply by observing it rather than following it, you'll realize you can control your mind in a completely new way. Once you succeed in halting the clinging mind, even once through gentle observation, you'll feel a surge of confidence. You'll see that you truly can manage your thoughts instead of being dominated by them. If you continue to train, this method becomes increasingly effortless, so much so that you might attain understandings deeper than some monastics in a temple. Thus, we've clarified the second step, not opposing the mind. Now let's move on to the third step, not defining. This is extremely important because clinging mind doesn't just make you attached to externals, it also has a more dangerous feature. It automatically creates distinctions and labels everything. For example, if I ask my son to memorize a passage, he'll immediately say, "No way, Dad, this is too long, I can't memorize it." He hasn't even tried, yet he's already labeled himself as incapable. This labeling prevents him from even beginning. I experienced something similar myself. I love food, but overeating makes me feel bloated and sleepy, leaving me hazy all day and unable to concentrate. One day I realized that if I only ate one meal a day, I'd feel much lighter and more alert. But the clinging mind instantly stuck a label on me. It's normal to eat 3 meals a day. If I only eat one, I'll never handle it. And believing that label prevented me from trying. Then one day, my younger brother told me he had lost over 40 kilograms simply by eating 1 meal a day without feeling weak. As soon as I heard that, I realized the label, "I can't do this," I'd placed on myself was entirely wrong. If he could do it, so could I. So I easily adopted that regimen, and it no longer felt forced. In fact, I felt lighter and more refreshed. I'm not suggesting you eat only once a day because everybody is different. The main point is to recognize how the clinging mind attaches labels to everything, and those labels become the very barriers limiting us. We often fail to see that our mind is constantly labeling things, and those labels become prison bars. For instance, many people enjoy taking the MBTI personality test to see if they are introverted or extroverted. But have you ever thought that once you slap the label, "I'm an introvert" on yourself, you may be boxing yourself in? For example, before knowing you were introverted, you might have summoned the courage to approach a beautiful girl. But once you define yourself as introverted, the clinging mind says, "I'm an introvert, I can't talk to strangers." And thus you limit yourself. You may lose a wonderful relationship because of a pointless label. This means we must regularly ask ourselves, are we being tricked by the clinging mind's artificial labels? Could the things we've always believed in actually be self-made obstacles? But that is just the basic level of not defining. On a higher level, even when you remove an old label, the clinging mind can replace it with a new one. For instance, if you avoid labeling yourself introvert, maybe you'll start pursuing a new relationship. Then the clinging mind might assign you a new label. I need love to be happy. And again, it draws you into a new cycle of attachment. So, the ultimate level of not defining is to let go of all distinctions like good, bad, success, failure, happiness, suffering. Whenever you label something good, you automatically label something else bad. Consequently, the clinging mind endures indefinitely, never ending. The Buddha taught us to observe without defining, to experience without possessing. When you can see things as they truly are, without labeling or discriminating, the clinging mind gradually fades away. Hence, the 3 steps to extinguish the clinging mind are clear: not chasing, not opposing, not defining. Finally, I want to share with you a few words from Buddhism that might awaken you instantly. When the mind is let go of all at once, Bodhi awakening immediately appears. Meaning that when the clinging mind suddenly stops, that is the moment insight and enlightenment manifest. The clinging mind is the prison of the soul, obscuring the wonderful, luminous, true mind, causing us to constantly pursue external objects without seeing our own true nature. Because one does not cling to anything, the mind becomes truly free. When you are no longer bound by the clinging mind, your mind becomes clear and at peace, unaffected by external conditions. And when the clinging mind is entirely gone, even the 3 realms can no longer bind you. What do you think of today's video? Feel free to share your thoughts below in the comments. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos on this channel. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.